What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new cold-blooded pack colorway of the Adidas Predator 18 Plus, the Laceless $300 Predator variation that some pros are wearing. Some pros are also wearing the 18.1. Nonetheless, it's a really good looking colorway. I have to say this is probably my favorite of the colorways we've seen so far. And I want to break down all the details of this shoe because I think people have some misconceptions on my overall opinion that I hope to clarify in this video. We'll of course take a look at how they fit and feel on feet as well. So if you want to learn everything there is to know about these, please stick around, watch the whole review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes. We'll be able to pick these up below their normal $300 retail price. Included with the cleats is this fancy box that you only get with the 18 Plus. You also get a string bag, some extra insoles that are a standard foam rather than boost like you'll find inside the shoes, and a shoe horn. While the Predator 18 Plus definitely doesn't look like any of the older Preds, this is definitely a classic Predator color combo featuring the white, black, and red. So you can see the base layer of the knitted upper is actually white, and because it has a translucent control skin top layer, you can actually see some of that knitted texturing, which I think is always cool with any shoe that has a knitted upper. Then you have the red accenting through the middle and the laceless portion of the shoe, as well as in the collar and most of the sole plate too. Although I will say that this definitely has more of a pinkish tinge to it rather than being like a true bright or even like a dark red like it looks in some pictures. Just to give you guys an idea, here is the Fire Pack colorway of the Magista Obra 2. This is definitely more of like a true red, I would say, and you can see side by side, this definitely has a little bit more of a pinkish tinge. So just keep that in mind. It's definitely not a deal breaker. I think they look very good in person anyways, but it's something that I think a lot of people might be a little bit confused about or perhaps even disappointed depending on what you thought they would look like based on pictures you'd seen online. So hopefully this clears that up. You're gonna find black accenting in the form of the Adidas stripes, which are actually fully reflective. Very cool little detail. And then some black running through the sole plate and the heel counter, which is actually kind of has this reddish bronze tinge to it. It does come with a warning sticker letting you know that this finish here along the back, as well as these little darker portions through the sole plate, that's wearable, so technically it will flake off over time. Although, because of how minor it is in terms of how much it incorporates into the colorway itself, I really wouldn't expect it to change the look of the shoe all that much at all. So overall, I really like how this looks. This is my personal favorite colorway of the new returned Predator 18 generation so far. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Why or why not? I know a lot of people who watch my reviews are probably of the opinion that I absolutely hate laceless cleats, but a lot of those people as well don't actually listen to all the details and reasonings for that particular criticism. So let me cover that right now in regards to the Laceless system, specifically on the Predator 18 Plus. I'll say this, I don't think the Predator 18 Plus is a bad shoe. I don't think that it's incapable. I don't think that you shouldn't buy it. I just think that if you're looking for the best possible objective lockdown responsiveness and fit, it is not your best option in the current Predator lineup, and that is because of the laceless system. Here's the thing, there aren't any laces here, so technically there is some kind of elimination of bulk for this particular model, although this does have more material, a different type of material. It's actually forge knit rather than prime knit running through the midfoot on either side. So this area in white is not actually the same as what you would find on the $225 laced Predator 18.1. So that's more structured right off the bat. You're also going to find that this middle part is basically just a thin layer of elasticated prime knit material that obviously stretches very, very easily. The reason why it stretches, the reason why it has to stretch is so you can actually get the shoes on and take them off without too much struggle. They do include a shoe horn if it's something that you have some problems with. Although for this shoe in particular, especially because of the extended collar, I really don't think that it's all that necessary. Now, the issue that I have comes in with lockdown as well as just the general fit of the shoe. Now, these shoes actually fit me quite well, and that's something that's really gonna vary from person to person with any laceless soccer cleat. The shape of that shoe pretty much has to match up with your specific foot type, or at least be close enough to where you're going to have that proper fit. The sizing also has to be right, the width of the shoe has to be right. So just keep that in mind. Any laceless product, because there aren't any laces, you lose out on adjustability, which I think is really important when it comes to how a soccer cleat is going to perform. If you can't get it to fit you properly or wrap around your foot at least somewhat closely, you're going to have issues in regards to performance, or at least the performance that the shoe could offer is going to suffer because of that poor fit. So you can't tighten these, you can't loosen them. If anything, they're really just going to become looser and looser over time as the central part does stretch a little bit. Although I will say it's more resilient than I think a lot of you guys might think. The other thing that's an issue with the Laceless system here is that because it is just this thin layer of material that really doesn't require a lot of force to stretch, imagine how much force is being applied when you're actually wearing these on your feet. Making a quick cut for a change of direction, planting for a strike, it's going to open up while you're actually wearing them, which means you're not going to get the lockdown. Your foot's not going to be 100% secure inside of the shoe. Something that's simply not an issue with a cleat that has a lacing system, just because you can tie both sides of the upper together and lock it in place with a knot at the top. That's something that you can't do with a laceless soccer cleat, and this is where personal preference really comes into play. I am personally somebody that really likes that super tight, super locked in sensation. If I'm having any kind of rollover or lockdown issues or heel slippage or pressure because my foot is not secure inside of the shoe, that's something that I find both uncomfortable as well as very annoying when I play. If you are not one of those people, if it doesn't bother you that your shoes aren't super tight, you're probably not going to have any issues with this Laceless Predator 18 Plus, given that they fit you properly. But if you are one of those people like me, then I really don't think that laceless shoes are the best option for you. So here's my conclusion. I think if you like the concept of laceless and you'd like the way that they fit and you don't mind that it's not super secure, it's not super locked in, by all means go for them. They're actually really, really solid. However, if you're looking for the best possible fit and really the best objective performance characteristics, meaning that the shoe's actually going to perform better than the laceless variation, regardless of whether or not you think they're more or less comfortable, going for something like the Predator 18.1 that actually does have a lacing system technically would be the better option, plus it is a little bit cheaper as well. So I don't hate these, I just don't think that they are the best option in the Predator lineup for reasons that I just explained. Everything around the Laceless system is actually really good. It features a full prime knit upper, at least prime knit for the forefoot forward, and then the midfoot is forge knit, but it's all a knitted material nonetheless. Basically, the midfoot is a little bit more padded on the laceless version of the shoe versus the Predator 18.1, despite the uppers looking very, very similar, so please keep that in mind. But really, I think this is their best prime knit upper yet. It's very soft, it's very, very flexible, there's not a whole lot to break in here, and it really does have that sock-like sensation, both in terms of comfort, as well as the actual touch that it provides. Think of like a thicker sock with a little bit of structure to it and a nice amount of padding. It's not overly thick, it's not overly thin, it's kind of right there in the middle, but really, really soft. That is, to me, the key characteristic here in terms of how these feel, both on feet as well as on the ball. Has this ridge texturing on the surface, which looks quite cool, not super effective in all honesty in terms of just changing up the feel and touch on the ball. And then you have that control skin top layer, which is basically a polyurethane material, like a plastic, that has a slight bit of grippiness to it, but definitely doesn't feel as grippy as some of the rubberized elements that we've seen on older Predator models. This really doesn't relate to older Predators in any way at all when it comes to fit and feel, in my opinion. The mid-cut aspect of the shoe, obviously it's an extended prime knit collar, and really it's just an extension piece. This shoe could be low cut. They just chose to make it mid-cut because that is what's popular right now. And I will say, admittedly, it does look quite cool. So no ankle support here, no real structure. It's there more so for looks than anything, but definitely doesn't feel uncomfortable, which is also a major positive. Internally, you're gonna find that it has a synthetic suede heel liner with a decent amount of padding, which is required because of the laceless system. It has to be there in order to keep your heel effectively locked in. And again, that's going to vary depending on your movement style, as well as how well that these actually fit your feet. The insole is somewhat controversial, mainly when I review it, because a lot of people disagree with me, but the insole that comes inside the shoe, they do include that extra set you saw at the start as well, has a nice synthetic suede lining on top, and it's a single layer of their very popular Boost material. You'll also find a thin layer of Boost material running basically from the midfoot forward, so mainly in the forefoot toe box area, you have a second layer of that Boost. The thing about it is that it's just not as amazing as I think a lot of people would expect it to be. It's a good idea, but you have to consider how thin this Boost is. It's literally a single layer of material. If you just hold your finger here and compress it, there's just not a lot of cushion. And even if you had 2 layers of this material because of how thin it is, which you do in the forefoot, it's still not enough to really provide any kind of an underfoot cushioning that feels different from a standard foam. So if you're buying this with the expectation that these are gonna feel like Ultra Boosts on your feet in soccer cleat form, unfortunately that is not the case. Just imagine this, you have this thick layer of Boost versus the Ultra Boost, which is basically like this thick. There's a reason why they feel a lot different. That's all I'm gonna say. As far as the rest is concerned, it features their control frame sole plate and basically heel counter system. So it's a one-piece heel counter that's attached directly to the sole plate, kind of a mini heel counter, if you will. Basically there just to provide some kind of lateral structure to the heel area of the shoe so your heel's not sliding from side to side. Then the sole plate itself has a decent thickness to it. It's nice and rigid through the heel and midfoot area as you would expect. And I would say it's probably the most solid out of all the sole plates on offer from current Adidas models right now. It's also not as light as a lot of the sprint frame constructions you'll find on other models as well. And it features their FG-AG stud pattern, which is pretty much the same layout you'll find across the entire line. Honestly, nothing special when it comes to traction, but it does get the job done, and it is nice that you can use these on both natural grass as well as artificial grass playing surfaces without having to worry about safety or durability. In terms of weight, in a size 9 US, the Predator 18 Plus weighs in at 8.4, 8.5 ounces, which is by no means heavy, but it is heavier than most shoes at this particular $300 price point. So basically, if you're looking for that super lightweight feel, I think the new generation of Predators isn't really going to provide that in general, but by no means would I say that they're heavy. If you're after the lightest possible Predator in a high-end variation, keep in mind that the Predator 18.1, which is kind of the laced version of this particular shoe, retailing at $225 rather than $300, does weigh about a half an ounce less, and that's largely because it has a slightly thinner material through the midfoot, and it doesn't have the boost on the inside as well as on the insole, which is actually heavier than standard foam would be. Is it a big difference between the two? Not really. I don't think the weight is super noticeable, but the way those shoes fit and feel because of the lacing system versus the laceless model, that'll be a more drastic difference. So it depends on what you're looking for. Just don't expect something super light from the Predator 18 Plus. When it comes to putting these on, because they're laceless, it actually isn't very difficult because this middle part is very stretchy and relatively thin. So I like to take both of my thumbs and kind of pull the opening as big as possible, and then just kind of turn it sideways, slide my foot through, and then use my thumbs as a shoehorn, grabbing this back piece, and then just kind of pull my foot in, making sure that I'm not crushing the back structure here, because there is still something even though there's no plastic heel counter. And then basically from there, you just adjust around the edges, and that's pretty much it. From there, there's nothing else to do. On feet, the Predator 18 Plus is really, really comfortable. I'd go as far as to say that it's probably the most comfortable laceless boot that I've ever worn. They actually fit me quite well, although it's not a super tight fit. If you're looking for something that kind of squeezes your foot and has that super locked in sensation, you're just not gonna get that from these or really any laceless boot for that matter, just because there is no adjustability. You can't really make them any tighter than how they already fit. And considering that this central portion is really determining how tight the upper is going to feel, it's so thin, there's not a lot of tension there, it's just not gonna fit super tight. As far as width is concerned, I would say that it's really one of those shoes that you have to try on. I wouldn't say that they're excessively narrow. I wouldn't say that they're super wide. I think for the most part, they would fit most people, although how well they'll fit you, again, will vary from person to person, both in terms of the width as well as the overall shape of your foot. So it's something you really have to judge for yourself once you actually get the opportunity to try these on. I will say that if they don't feel right out of the box, there's no break-in time, there's no changing of how the shoes will fit once you start to wear them. It's probably just not a good idea to keep them if you feel like they don't fit you properly from right out of the box. You want them to fit perfect from the get-go. Sizing is also very important. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and you can see the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, while I'm personally not a huge fan of this shoe, it is actually a top-end model that I can recommend. I think if you were a fan of the A16 Plus or A17 Plus Pure Control, there's a lot to like about the Predator 18 Plus. I think it is improved upon both of those two shoes that came before it, and arguably the most comfortable laceless model that Adidas has ever put out. They're wearable, but they're certainly not for everybody. I think if you're somebody like me that prefers something a little bit more secure, a little bit more locked in, and definitely more responsive, then maybe going laceless in general probably isn't the best option for you. I much prefer the Predator 18.1 over the Predator 18 Plus, but again, if you don't mind not having a super tight, super locked in sensation, and you just like the way that these look and feel on your feet, pending that they fit you properly, then by all means go for the Predator 18 Plus. It's actually a pretty solid shoe. Anyways, guys, that is it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $300 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave those down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.